Good afternoon or good morning, runners, depending on where you are listening in from. Welcome to Facebook Live, United Airlines NYC half week. Very excited today to have our partner with Heart Special for Special Surgery, Alexis DiClemente here as we talk race day, tips and tricks. I know a lot of runners out there are getting those nerves. It's race week. We always have that. We can't wait to get to the start line, let alone the finish line. But we're going to try to guide you through some tips and tricks today. I know here in New York, it's raining. Alexis and I were talking before we came on camera how it was a good day probably just to stay inside, curled up with a blanket and hanging out. But we are here with you today. Looking forward to your questions and your shout outs. So runners, please drop in those questions. Let us know where you're listening from, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, so we can help you out there. Alexis, thank you so much for joining. How are you doing today?
Absolutely. Happy to be here. I'm doing well. Bummed it's not sunny like it was the rest of the week, but what can you do?
We can't do much. I know tomorrow looks fantastic, and let alone race day looks really good. Mid-50s runners out there. So again, we've dialed up. I made some phone calls. We got good weather for you. Today not so good. Tomorrow looks good. Saturday kind of dodgy. Sunday we're good. Don't worry about it. We will take care of you.
All that matters. Sunday it looks good.
Sunday's all that matters. I love it. So again, runners are preparing, Alexis. We have a few days left. At this point, what can runners do to really prepare from like a body standpoint as they get ready for race day on Sunday?
Yeah. So, I'm sure people have run races in the past, but as you know, you want to sort of taper your training schedule down in the weeks leading up to a longer race. Try to avoid longer endurance runs, focus on shorter runs, even walks, or more of a cross training approach. You don't want to start the race feeling already tired at the starting line. So reducing your mileage in the weeks and especially the week of the race will ensure that you're nice and energized for the half marathon. Also doing some self massage and some soft tissue work just to make sure that things are nice and loose and flexible, and you're really setting yourself up for success when you start your race.
Loose and flexible. That's a takeaway I have so far. My wife will appreciate that because I'm not always the most flexible person in the world, but I'll try to work on that as we go through. And unfortunately, runners come here, they've had a good training cycle. Maybe they've struggled a little bit, ups and downs. That's part of training for any race. Injuries do flare up, pop up, whether it's in week 2, week 4, week 8, hopefully not too close to the race. But unfortunately, that does happen. So at this point, if a runner's out there, whether they're feeling a little bit sore, you talked about the soft tissue, some of the work they can do there. But if they're dealing with an injury leading into the race, you already talked about the soft tissue. If I'm still dealing with an injury at this point, what are some tips and tricks to kind of hopefully calm some nerves down as we get closer to race day?
Sure. So, ideally, I would advise someone to avoid trying anything new in terms of stretching, warm ups, exercises too close to the race. Just you don't want to tweak anything if your body's not used to a certain movement. You can be proactive by staying hydrated, avoiding like sugary beverages, alcoholic beverages. And then if you have an injury that, has been diagnosed by a trainer or an orthopedic doctor or even a physical therapist, you should try to check in with that person, specifically a PT or a trainer, about anything specific that you might want to do for that injury in particular. For example, if you have like a history of a previous ankle injury or plantar fasciitis, for example, you want to make sure that you're really caring for that, like you're doing calf stretching several times a day to make sure that you're taking care of your body and avoiding any flare-ups that could occur when you're on the long run. So appropriate stretches, foam rolling the area, neuromuscular re-education exercises that maybe you have been prescribed by a trainer or a physical therapist, that would be good to kind of focus on in the days leading up to the race. And then if you have an injury and are trying to sort of manage your symptoms, calm things down a little bit, I usually recommend a hot shower. I know some people focus on like Epsom salt baths, and there are claims that Epsom salt baths can reduce like muscle soreness, relieve cramping. It also, one of the ideas behind the Epsom salt bath is that it releases magnesium, and it the magnesium can help your body use the glucose in your body a little bit more effectively. So that'll improve your performance and your recovery after the race.
And who doesn't like a good bath? I mean, let's just be realistic here. If I'm getting a benefit out of that, maybe I have a coffee, if it's after the race, a beverage of your choice, but a bath, I'm in. I'm in on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially on a day like today when it's raining, a hot shower and a bath. What more do we need?
Absolutely.
Very good. Obviously, we're getting close. Runners are thinking about everything. They have, we always talk about nothing new on race day. Don't go out too fast. Keep it easy. But runners are always looking for an extra edge. What can we maybe do? And we always warn them against these things. But from a nutritional standpoint, the night before their race, tips and tricks, ideas, anything that could help, maybe give a little bit extra boost as you get out there on race day?
Yeah, great question. So try to avoid high sugar foods or beverages, as I mentioned. Avoid alcohol consumption. Save the beer. Save those carbs for after. You don't want to skimp on carbs, though, but that doesn't also mean that you go on the opposite end of the spectrum and sort of gorge and binge eat. You want to be consuming consistent, healthy meals mixed with some small snacks. You want a well-balanced meal, well-balanced diet, healthy carbs, fruits, vegetables, some good things to eat the day before. I usually recommend bananas, good source of potassium, oatmeal or some sort of oats. They have a low glycemic index, so oats will help the blood sugar rise slowly over a longer period of time to help your energy level stay consistent versus something with more of a processed sugar. It'll cause your blood sugar to spike and then kind of crash. So oats with the low glycemic index, they'll help you feel full longer and help that more of an endurance energy burn while you're running. Yogurt is a good balance of protein and carbs, also peanut butter. So not like the natural peanut butter is what I'm speaking to. So not the sugar added, the flavored peanut butter. I know they have like different flavors like cookie dough and Oreo peanut butter now, but something more natural without a lot of additives. And that can provide a good source of protein as well.
Love that. The oats, I love that. After a run that I have, that's like my go-to. Oatmeal is my go-to. Banana is my pre-run meal. The night before my big races, over the years that I've been running, I'm a big sushi eater. People go, sushi? I don't get that. But I like the sodium. I like the mix of sodium, the carbs from the rice, the protein from the fish, and the oils. It just works well with me. But that's what I've learned over the years, runners. So great ideas. I love your ideas, Alexis. Again, we go with nothing new. So people who are traveling in, we'll kind of dive into this a little bit later, but nothing new. But love some really good ideas. The vegetables are good. Because, yeah, you want to have your best go for the race, right?
Yes, absolutely. I like the sushi idea. It's kind of a mix of, healthy fats and carbs and sodium, like you said.
Yeah, it's something different. Not everyone needs to have a big bowl of pasta. Again, everyone's different. Runners, you've been trained to this point. You know what works well for you. Stick with it. Great ideas here. Maybe for your next training cycle, dabble a few of these in there. But bananas, oatmeal, like Lexus said, those are winners. Definitely going with those. But I know we have some shout outs and questions coming our way. We have lots of runners out there traveling in. Here we go. Billy, hi everyone. Billy, thank you so much for listening today. Malik, you stayed on for the last one. You had so much fun at 10 o'clock on our first course strategy. He hung out, wanted to come back at noon from Laurel, Maryland. Thank you so much. Luke, good afternoon. It is good afternoon, so you're probably in the Eastern Daylight Time because we sprang ahead for all of us who are still adapting to the time change. Exactly, Alexis, exactly. Chris, Team TCS, hey, thank you so much. TCS, New York City Marathon, be easily the best marathon in the world. Allentown, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania showing strong again. Melinda, hello from Bessemer, Alabama. Love it. Thank you so much. And we have some questions rolling through. Let's see what our first... No questions just yet. We have Bev from Stanford, Connecticut. We'll do a couple more shout outs. And then we'll kick back over. But if you have questions, runners, please let us know out there. And again, we're all getting ready for the race. If you have any questions, Alexis is a PT. She'll maybe give you some broad ideas on what to work with. She talked about the soft tissue already. But if you're feeling 100%, That's what we want. We don't want anybody out there having a rough time. You want to feel good as you get to the start line. Take it easy, keep it going. But we're going to jump back over. Again, we talked about it a bit earlier. We talked about the nutrition part. We have a lot of runners that are coming in from out of town. Our last core strategy, we had people flying in from all over the United States. The night before, people who were staying here, you talked about foods to look for. In terms of restaurants, Alexis, what are some ideas that we can give runners on where they could get some of the foods that you talked about potentially here in the New York metro area?
Sure. So I think it's great that these races bring a lot of visitors into the city. New York has some great things to offer if you've never been here. You mentioned pasta. So New York has a slew of amazing Italian restaurants. Pasta, especially more of a whole grain pasta or another higher carb meal, will help your glycogen reserves really be built up and provide you with that long lasting energy needed for the run. I know it might be tempting to sort of go all out and just eat a lot because we have a lot of different cuisines to offer, but try to avoid larger meals that will sit really heavy in your stomach. You mentioned sushi, so I think you could find some great sushi down in Chinatown. I'm sure a lot of our restaurants have some great fresh farm to table fruits and vegetables, things with high levels of vitamins and nutrients like broccoli, carrots. Broccoli has a high vitamin C content that'll help reduce your risk for injury. Sweet potatoes are also something that I'm not sure where you could find them specifically in the city in terms of restaurant that would serve them, but I'm sure places have them. And sweet potatoes are also good to consume, if you're out and about looking for a restaurant the night before.
Love all those ideas. They're so good. And runners, again, like Alexis did too, the beer, the alcohol, hold that later. Maybe even a slice of pizza. A good slice of pizza anywhere in the New York, you can get that. Save that for Sunday, maybe for brunch, maybe for second brunch on Sunday because you've earned it after running 13.1 miles out there. Yeah, but look for a really good meal that night before. If you're staying at a hotel here in Midtown or anywhere in New York or Brooklyn or Queens, talk to the front desk, talk to the concierge. Ask for some ideas that offer the foods that maybe Alexis has recommended or what you're used to. Again, you want to stick to what you know, what your body knows. You've done so much work to get here. Stick to the plan. You know what the planet is. You want to get there. And then again, after a good meal, the next great thing to do is we all want to climb into bed, relax, get a good night's sleep. So again, a few nights before the race, Alexis, what can runners do to help maybe aid in their sleep? I think we're going to have the jitters. The night before is the night before. But tonight, tomorrow night, what are some tricks we can look at, hopefully to get a good night's sleep?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Sleep is super important. Sleep will, good sleep hygiene. I educate my patients all the time. Sleep hygiene and poor sleep habits can be linked to increased pain and just reduced neuromuscular control of the body. So good sleep hygiene keeps the brain sharp, allow your body to follow suit. So you're going to be running a big race on Sunday. You want to make sure that your sleep cycle is pretty regulated over the next few days. Some ways to assist your body in doing that. Sometimes I recommend melatonin. Again, for people who have tried it and it can work. Sure, if you haven't tried it, this might not be the best time to go for it, but maybe a calming tea before bed. Also, the apps that they have now, like Headspace or Calm, I know they have different, if you're someone who just likes sounds, calming sounds, they have those options. They also have people like famous people, celebrities doing voiceovers of just different stories. I know one of the apps just got Nick Offerman he was on Parks and Rec. He does some of the voiceover stories. So, his voice is deep and calming, and that might help to put you to sleep. And the stories, I've done it before. They're not really anything super interesting. So it's kind of like you just have that white noise essentially in the background to help your brain sort of quiet down and reduce the activity of your nervous system and allow you to get in that relaxed state to fall into a nice deep sleep. Um, I know this next tip is hard, but reducing screen time, usually like 2 hours before bedtime. I'm guilty of it sometimes where I'm just tired, but like not tired enough where I'm going to fall asleep right now. Bring my phone in bed and start scrolling Instagram or, catching up with emails from the day. And I end up being there and in that awakened state looking at my screen for, another hour. So try to quiet your mind, try to reduce that screen time within 2 hours of your bedtime. Also, try to keep a consistent sleep schedule. So, if you want to try to go to bed a little bit earlier, if you're able to sleep in a little bit later, you can kind of have some wiggle room on either end for that. But, in order to get a good night's sleep, if your body isn't used to going to bed at 9 o'clock, your body's not going to want to go to bed at 9 o'clock. So, try to keep that consistent sleep schedule that you're used to. And then if you're having trouble sleeping, I usually recommend just trying to do some breath work and just kind of focus on breathing. You can do, a slow inhale, hold for a few seconds, very slow exhale, just to, again, quiet the mind, bring your nervous system, ramp it down a little bit, and just kind of focus on that breath and hopefully drift off to a deep, calming, relaxing sleep so you're energized the next few days.
Yeah, deep, calming, relaxing sleep will be good. Nick Offerman, I'm going to have to find that. He was the best on Parks and Rec. Ron Swanson, my son and I, we can still watch episodes and we laugh so hard. And if Morgan Freeman does any of these too, he's a good voice to also kind of keep us calm and relaxed. So we'll definitely have to look at that. Great ideas, great tips. And obviously people coming in from out of town, you're going to be in a hotel room. There could be new sounds, new noises in the area. Try to ask people to get you up. Most hotels will be up off the first, second floor. You'll be high enough. There won't be the city noise to keep you awake at night, but also make sure that you're not near the elevators or near the ice machine. I made that mistake one time at a hotel. We were right by the ice machine, and it seemed like at all hours of the night, people were getting ice. So again, talk to the hotel when you get there, see where your room is, ask for something middle of the floor, away from any heavy traffic areas, because as Alexis gave great tips for sleeping, if it's a new environment, it could just be an extra added layer of whatever to keep you from getting that slumber that we so desire. But I know we've got some more shout outs and we have some questions coming in. So we'll jump back over all of our listeners out there joining us on a dreary day here in New York. Hopefully it's good where you are. We have Shakib in White Plains. You're probably seeing the same thing we are. Hopefully you're inside, enjoying your day. Thank you so much for joining. We have Alyssa, Martha's Vineyard. A good friend of mine lives out there. Hopefully it's still sunny. Hopefully you're enjoying the day before tourist season starts. But thank you so much for joining. Elle from New Jersey, Jersey City, first half marathon, excited and nervous. Get the good sleep. We talked about the food, talked about taking care of yourself. You've done the work. Have a good time, Elle. You're going to crush it. Look forward to seeing you at the experience and out there on race day. Oh, here's our first question. I'm going to toss this one to you. What do you think? Hard-boiled eggs, good pre-race breakfast? What do you think about that one, Alexis?
Yeah, I mean, I think eggs are a good source of nutrients. I have never, recommended them, the hard-boiled eggs, but I think that's a great idea. It's easy to prepare, easy to eat on the go. If you have a long way to travel the morning of race day, you want to make sure that you get there early. So, hard-boiled egg is something that you could kind of eat on the trek to your starting line. So yeah, good question, Bev. I think that would work.
I got really comfortable with hard-boiled eggs a few years ago when I did a carb deplete for a marathon I was running. I think I probably ate about 18,000 hard-boiled eggs over the course of the week because it was one of the things I could eat with some regularity. But good one. Hard-boiled eggs are great, Bev. Great question. I think we have another question coming at us. Scarlett. Here we go. Got runner's knee at times during my training. Do you recommend KT tape taping for race day?
So I would say if you haven't taped during your training runs, like we've gone through, a few times today, it's probably not the best time to really dive into something new. If you're familiar with KT taping though, and you have someone who can do it for you, or you've watched some YouTube videos and you've trained yourself to do it and feel comfortable doing it, and you know how your body reacts with the tape on, sure, you can do it sort of as a proactive measure to avoid that knee pain. However, if during all the training runs you don't run with tape on, it might not be the best time to start. Also, if you have if you've been treated for your knee pain at any point in the past by a trainer or a physical therapist or exercise physiologist, something of that nature, if you have some specific exercises that they prescribed for you, it might be a good idea to kind of go back and see what those are. Usually it's a lot of quad and glute strengthening, as well as making sure the flexibility around the knee is sufficient to allow effective movement. So, those are some things that I would recommend if you have been treated for that injury in the past, going back to some of the PT exercises or stretches. And then as far as the taping goes, I would probably hold off on trying something new. But if you're familiar with how your body reacts with the tape on, and if you've tried it before for a long run, sure, go ahead and try it and be proactive to prevent that knee pain. But if you haven't tried the tape recently, might not be the best time to dive in there.
Yeah, I know we see a lot of runners out there, and we see pro athletes as well. I mean, it's a great it's kinesio or kinesiology tape. Is that correct? And people refer to as KT.
Kinesio tape. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kinesio tape. So I see a lot of runners out there. They're wearing it, and I've seen runners actually pull off to the side of a race and rip it off. I think it goes to your point before. Probably didn't train with it, and now they're in the race, and it feels different. It feels weird. They thought it may help, and it's become more of a hindrance. They're focused more on it. It's not doing what they want, and they're just tearing it off. So I think it's a great thing where it's a 50-50. It could work out one way, it could work out the other. Maybe stay away from it, especially if you haven't done the training at this point. Hopefully the knee isn't too bad. You can get through it. But Scarlett, hopefully everything's good. Have a great race. And I think we've got another question coming our way. Elle, what is it like at the starting line? Does it get hectic with dropping bags, going to security, getting to the corrals? Yeah, I think this is our first one. So a great question for someone who's coming into their first half marathon or any major race. I mean, there's going to be 25,000 runners spread across 4 waves. Just want to put that out there. Know what to expect. I'm a big person on expectations. The starting line, you're going to be in a big field. There's going to be a lineup area where they're going to have the waves and the corral. So wave 1 is going to go into corrals A through F. They're going to move everybody through. The rest of the runners in waves 2, 3, and 4 will just mill about in the large grass area, just taking their time. Maybe you're sitting down on the grass, relaxing, using the restroom, getting some water. The key really is to find your space. We talked about it during the sleep area. It's finding that calm area. So when you're going through, because you're going to be dropping your bags off before you go through the security checkpoint. So you've come off the subway, probably off the Q train. That's where you want to be if you're having bags. Come off the Q train. You're going to come into Prospect Park, go up to Breeze Hill. Our partners UPS, all the trucks will be there. Every truck in every area will be marked. So you'll look for your corresponding wave and your corral or your bib number. So you'll be able to put your bag in the correct truck. That way when you're finished, you find your bag when you're done. Then you're going to go through security. Security could take a few minutes. It could take 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half hour, depending on how busy it is when you get there. Again, it's going to be fine. Everyone's going to be getting into the start area just fine. Give yourself time, probably about 90 minutes before your wave goes off to get your bag dropped off and get through the security. Once you're in, then you're going to have an hour, 15 minutes, maybe an hour. It's going to go faster than you think. And just relax. Find a space where you can kind of be on your own if you need to, or sit down. Like I said, use the restroom one more time. Grab some water if you want to get a little hydration in, but not too much. Perhaps you don't want to have to make a pit stop during the race. But the biggest thing is just soak it all in. It's a beautiful experience. It's a beautiful time. The great thing about being your first race, it's going to be your personal best. You're going to cross the finish line with the fastest half marathon that you've ever run. And just take the moment, take it all in, and enjoy it all the time. Elle, have a great race. If I knew your last name, I'd put you in my tracker to see how it goes. Go download the United Airlines NYC half, get your friends and family in there, and track them as we go. Any more questions or shout outs? We are going to go back over. We have a couple of more questions to go through here because, again, runners want to know what's going on. They want those tips and tricks, help you out there. And thank you so much for our partner at Heart Special for Special Surgery. Joining us, Alexis DiClemente. Okay, we had a question. Elle was talking about it, first-time marathoner. being relaxed before the race. Dive into that a bit more. Elle, if you're listening, here's some great tips coming your way. So how can we help stay relaxed on race day morning?
Yes, great question. I know that even the training process and the few days leading up to a race, especially the morning of, the anxiety levels can be high. The mental fatigue of all the training you've done and just feeling the pressure of here's race day, and you have to really hype yourself up, but also remain relaxed at the same time. So I think some tips that I have are. Using some meditation or guided meditation. Again, the apps that I mentioned before, Headspace or Calm, they have different guided meditation strategies that kind of take you through sort of like a body scan, where is your head in space? Is your jaw clenched? Are your shoulders tight? And just to kind of relax your every aspect of your body before you line up at the starting line. Also, some breathing exercises that I mentioned before are a way to calm the nervous system down. Some yoga might be helpful, as well as not only calming the mind and staying relaxed, but also keeping the body loose. It looks like it's going to be a nice day, but on a colder day, something where you're kind of staying moving and not staying still for too long would be a great idea. And then also self-massage or self-myofascial release the morning of, using either a foam roll or a percussive massage device like the Theraguns or the Hypervolts that are becoming really popular, especially if you have sort of a problem area, like at mile 10, my right quads start to get really, really tight. Give that area a little bit of TLC with some soft tissue massage or some self-myofascial release. And then I wanted to also mention there's a lot of evidence that supports using a foam roll immediately after exercise, like a higher intensity exercise, like a half marathon. And that will help reduce the post-exercise soreness for, after that higher intensity bout of exercise. So we all know DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. So the foam roll, just using the foam roll after you finish the race, like try to do it as close to when you finish as possible, and that should help reduce that DOMS and the delayed onset muscle soreness for the few days afterwards.
Love it, perfect. And those DOMs, they will sneak up on you, so that's great advice, because you want to feel as good as you can a couple days after, because it definitely can be a bit uncomfortable, especially if it's being your first time. And the weather on Sunday is looking pretty good. We all put some phone calls in. We're getting good weather, which is nice. It's not going to rain. Should be a bit overcast in the mid-50s here, which in this time of year in the 5 boroughs is pretty much ideal for what we want. Obviously, runners are going to be underdressed. They're going to have their bib on their innermost layer ready to go, but they may want to keep some stuff on top to keep themselves warm before the start of the race. What are some recommendations to staying warm and confident, whether in the area outside the corrals or in the corrals, as they get ready for the air horn to go off and start their journey?
So I think you hit the nail on the head with layering up. You definitely can wear some lighter layers that you can shed during the race and either tie around your waist or attach it to yourself somehow, or toss it aside if it's something that you don't mind parting with. I also think trying to stay moving, like I mentioned before, and not sitting too long, that can kind of cause things to get stiff and tight, and you want to be really you want to feel good when you're lining up for the race. I usually recommend doing some sort of dynamic warm-up, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes before you have to line up in the corral. You want to save more static stretching for after the race. Static stretching would be, let's say a calf stretch where you're in the runner stretch position and you hold that position for 30 seconds plus. That would be a static stretch. That's more beneficial after exercise. You want more of a dynamic warm-up before running. So I recommend like jogging, skipping, jumping jacks, and then some dynamic warm-ups that can include some lengthening of the muscles as well. So like walking toe touches, butt kicks, high knees, Those things will help to get the blood pumping, get the blood flowing to those tissues that you're going to be using for the race, increasing your heart rate. So staying moving, dynamic warm-ups, dynamic stretching, save the seated, static, long hold stretching for after. And then a recommendation for staying confident is listening to like some upbeat music, whatever makes you feel energized and pumped up. I remember in PT school when I would, before I would take a big exam, usually, an anatomy exam, I would put my headphones on and I had a few songs that just really got me really jazzed. And, that always made me feel really confident going into the exam. So, big race day, find a few songs that just really make you feel good. And, hopefully listening to them before you start your race will help improve your confidence and get you ready to roll, ready to run.
Love it. Songs are always a good pick-me-up. Mantras, maybe you have some mantras out there, runners. I had a coach for me tell me yours, just smile. Smile makes everything feel better. It's a simple thing to do. Remember that you've worked so hard to get to the start line. This is the first time we're doing the United Airlines NYC half in 3 years. We're so excited to be back. The experience has been fantastic. So much excitement over there. It's going to happen the next 3 days. The buzz is going to be alive and you're going to be out there. Get to the start line, take it all in. Great tips here from Alexis to kind of get yourself confident and then just take it all in and smile because it's a beautiful day. But we got some more questions coming our way, so let's see what we got. Bev, at what point in the start area does a non-running spouse have to leave? The only people that will be allowed into the security or the runner zone will be runners with a bib. They will have to show you that. They could be able to get inside Prospect Park where the bag check is or where the areas are, but really it's going to be difficult for non-runners to be even inside Prospect Park at that point. But for sure, once you get into the security area, if you are not have a bib on, that's like your ticket in. They have to show a bib to get into the start area. Anyone who does not have a bib will not be allowed in. That's a frozen zone, runners only at that point. Okay, coming your way. Sam asking, any tips to reduce the likelihood of re-aggravating chronic injury, as he stated here on race day?
Sure, good question, Sam. So the advice will kind of vary based on what type of chronic injury you are experiencing. For example, like low back pain, if that's the injury, you want to make sure that you are using the muscles around the pelvis region to support the back as you're running. So, for example, long distance running, if the glutes are a little bit weaker or they tend to lose power after a certain distance, you might have to really focus on kind of engaging your glutes as you're running those last few miles, because if your glutes are fatiguing, your lower back is going to start compensating. And when you're running, the glutes are a huge contributor to getting that power and that stride length. So if for example, you have a back injury and your back tends to bother you after a certain mile marker, try to prevent that from happening by using the muscles that support the back in a more effective way, like the glutes. If it's a knee injury, hip injury, ankle injury, I usually recommend just trying to stretch the area. A lot of running injuries can happen when there's an imbalance in the region. So when certain muscles are tight, others are weak, things aren't working effectively and coordinating their activation pattern together. So as far as the chronic injury goes, if you want to type in the chat what body part or what type of injury you're referring to, might be able to give you a little bit more of a specific but general idea of how to avoid re-aggravating that.
Yeah, definitely, Sam, let us know any more information. I know the song says the hips don't lie, but I think as Alexis told us, the glutes, well, they're telling you some things too, folks. The glutes don't lie out there, folks, because definitely the power comes from there. Yaver, when picking up your bib, can you use a picture of your ID and verification in the NY Excelsior app? Yes. If you have a picture of your ID, you can show that on your phone instead of actually having the actual ID with you. The Excelsior app works. I know there's about 3 other ones. visit like My ID NYC or whatever the other ones. Anything where you can show either one on your phone, if physical, if you have the actual card. You just will need both of those forms of identification, the vaccine, whether it be the card or the app, and then your ID, whether it be on your phone or your physical. That's all you need to get in to show what you need. So please bring those, as you will need them to get into the expo, as well pick up as your bib. Jim, how long before wave 1 do runners move into the corrals? Well, I kept my little hefty-dufty event guide here because I got those questions. When you're at the expo, make sure you grab one or download the United Airlines NYC Half app, as all the information will be there as well. But inside here, if you open it up, one of them will be on there, will give you what the wave times are. So Jim, I'll let you know. Wave 1, bag check closes at 6:40. Entry area, start area by 6:50. Corrals are open at 6:55. Corrals close at 7:15. Your wave begins at 7:20. So in terms of how much time, it's not a very big window. You only have about 20 minutes. So make sure you're probably going to want to be in around Prospect Park by 6:15 at the latest. Give yourself some time. You don't want to be rushing around, trying to figure out where everything is, dropping things off, going to the restroom, having to wait in line, watch the clock. You want to be calm. Alexis talked about it earlier. You want to be relaxed. So give yourself extra time. Thankfully, no rains in the forecast. The weather actually looks very good. It won't be super cold. Probably a layer or two is all you're going to need. There will be heat sheets as well. But I'd say be there by 6:15. That way you have plenty of time to do what you have before you set into your corrals at around 7 a.m. Jim, have a great race. Kristania, are you allowed to have a phone and or earbuds during the race? While it's discouraged, you are allowed to have that. I know a lot of runners out there, we train with music when we run. We have earbuds in, their AirPods or the Bose style in our ear. The one thing that we do ask is just keep that volume level enough where you can hear it, what's playing in your ears, but also what's happening around you. There could be other runners behind you, in front of you. There could be some instructions from off the course that you need to be aware of. Obviously, the course will be closed off to any vehicular traffic. It will only be the runners, but there will be a lot of runners around you. If someone's coming up on your side and they're saying, I'm passing on the left, and you don't hear them, and you happen to drift over because you're going around somebody, there could be an accident, you could collide. We don't want that. So if you're going to be using your phone for music with the earbuds, just make sure that, the music in the earbuds is not so loud that you're not able to hear the world around you, because we want you to have a great race and be safe and get to Central Park and the finish line. Scarlett, does the race allow a hydration belt with a 10-ounce mini water bottle? What you're allowed to take on race course is anything handheld or around the waist. So as long as it's around the waist or handheld, the size is up to you. You cannot have anything over the shoulder. No hydration vest, whether it be the bottles in the front or the hydration pack in the back, your camel packs, those are not allowed. Handheld, around the waist is good. There's no limitation. If you're unsure, you can go to the website. There's an area where it has prohibited items. You can go through there to verify, but hydration belts with the 10-ounce mini water bottles will be fine. Teresa, how close can spectators get to the finish, and should runners expect a long walk after the finish similar to the marathon? So obviously you've done the TCS New York City Marathon. You're experienced in what we call the 27th mile. We call it the 14th mile here at the United Airlines NYC Half. So how close can spectators get to the finish line? The frozen zone will be as you come off the 72nd Street transverse around mile 13. As you make your way up the hill, runners will be able to be on the transverse and at that corner. As you make your way towards the finish line, there will be no spectators along the line as you get in there, and then obviously below that as you walk off. So the closest spectators will get to the finish line will be around mile 13, and they'll be able to exit the park back onto Central Park West and go down to the family meetup zone. The walk-off is not as long as it is in the marathon. You finish just north of Tavern on the Green, and you walk yourself down to 59th Street, so maybe about a half a mile at the most, and then you'll exit out into Columbus Circle. The family meetup zone will be on Central Park West from around 60th to 63rd. So you'll be able to find your families, buy your either the first or last name, the first initial. Just verify where your family members are going to meet. Or better yet, if you're going to be meeting your loved ones after, have a designated meetup spot. I will meet you at 66th and Broadway at the Starbucks, so you know exactly where they're going to be, because you've just finished 13.1 miles. You don't want to have to walk and find your family more than you need to. Here we go. Jim's asking, how does a massage gun compare to a foam roller?
So they both, good question, Jim. They both will help to mobilize the tissues and the fascial layers within the body. The massage gun, they're just different. So the massage gun has the vibratory, percussive, repetitive motion. With a foam roll, you can sort of modify how you're using the foam roll, whether you want more of a sustained pressure point on, you know, a knot or a trigger point. You can do, you can roll the muscle like a cross friction type of thing. You can do short, work the muscle in short, what am I trying to say? If you're going to do the quads, for example, start low by the kneecap, work that area, go up to the mid thigh, work that area, go up to the upper thigh near the hip, work that area. So the foam roll, you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of how you can utilize the tool. They both have similar benefits. While I was mentioning some evidence before about the foam roll usage, there hasn't been as much research done on the massage guns, just because they're fairly new. They are just different. So if you have a massage gun, sure, if you know how to use it, that's great. If you're familiar with foam rolling, that can be effective as well. It also depends on what muscle group or what area of the body you're trying to target. A massage gun might be difficult to do, you know, on the glutes for yourself, unless you have someone to help you. A foam roll might be a little bit easier to get into the posterior and the lateral hip area with a foam roll.
A big foam roll guy here. I'm a big proponent of the foam roll. I use it just about every night before I go to bed. I've never used the massage guns. Have you actually used one before? I have not. Have you used one?
Yeah, we have them in the clinic here, and I'll use them on certain patients. They're good for larger muscle groups, but foam rolls are also good for larger muscle groups.
Right.
Again, it's just the kind of the target that you want to achieve. So are you looking to, you know, provide that consistent percussive stimulation to the tissue, or using a foam roll, do we want to try and, you know, release more of the soft tissue adhesions, more of the fascial restrictions? And again, you can use it to do more of a trigger point release with a sustained pressure hold, or you can do more of a dynamic movement with the foam roll versus the massage gun.
Lovely. Great information. Thank you so much. I'm going to take that back. I've never used the massage gun, so I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then did you mention the HSS is going to have the foam roll station at the end of the half marathon?
Yes, the HSS recovery zone. Thank you so much for that reminder. So runners, as you come across the 13.1 miles and what we refer to as the 14th mile, just as you approach Tavern on the Green, our partners at Hospital for Special Surgery, the HSS recovery zone will be there. So if you need to jump in real quick, hit a foam roller, maybe get a quick massage if they're offering that kind of stuff, they'll be there kind of on the runner's right as you exit out. So jump in there if you need to be, because yeah, a little quick foam roll when you're done always feels good. If you're needing more medical attention, our medical tent will be in that area as well. Hopefully that's not the case, but again, we have that along the course as well as in the finish area. But yeah, the HSS recovery zone, runners jump into it. Very excited to have Hospital for Special Surgery back in that area. It's a great partner, and I've used it before, and it feels great to foam roll right after a run. Just nice and light, nothing too crazy. Here we go, Jen. Oh, okay, we have Jen adding to Sam's chronic injury comment. It said knees, shin splint, feet, arches. Any advice on how to maintain pace if these things start to bother you? That's a lot of the post chain going in there. That's a lot going on there.
So Jen, I hope you don't have any of these issues on Sunday, but you know, I would recommend that. So you're someone who normally has shin splints, stretch your calves before you start. So do some dynamic stretching for the calf muscles. You can sort of find a wall or a surface where you can use your hands to support your body, and then get in sort of a modified plank pose and do just sort of like some ankle pumps to dynamically stretch the calf muscles before you run. I think as far as pacing goes, obviously, if you're feeling, sharp shooting, stabbing pain, you might need to slow your pace and even take a minute or two to just pause and kind of let your body come back to baseline a little bit. You can change your running style in the sense that if you're experiencing those types of pains, you could do more of a skipping for maybe a quarter mile, just to sort of change things up for your body and avoid that overuse type of injury that can happen with something like foot pain or shin splints. Ideally, taking steps to sort of address those imbalances before the race would be ideal. So making sure that you have proper footwear, if you need orthotics. But again, that if you don't have any of those things, don't run out and get them now, just because your body won't be used to training or running with those additions into the sneaker. But I would say, as far as pacing yourself, try not to get too much in your head about it. You need to take a breather, move to the side, do a quick, dynamic stretch, change your running to doing more of like a skipping or even like a slow jog or a brisk walk, just to sort of change the pace a little bit. Hopefully after a few minutes, your body will return to baseline and you'll be able to resume running at your preferred pace.
Yeah, all the best out there, Jen. Some great advice. You mentioned at the end the brisk walk, even a run walk cadence at that point, like an interval, like 3 minutes on, 1 minute off, something to kind of take the pressure off a little bit, let the body kind of come back to the baseline, as Alexis had talked about. So, and that's great. I have a couple runners that I know, and even a coach I know, he's done run walk and he's done marathons very quick. So don't denounce the run walk concept. It's a very favorable concept. Jeff Galloway has made it very popular across the world. A lot of runners do it. So again, in terms of when you're dealing with this kind of injuries, these kind of pains, taking a walk break is always good. And if you have a moment to kind of, I'm going to run to the next light post or the next block and then walk again, kind of pace yourself out there. You got plenty of time to get to the finish line. You want to have the best race you can. So all the best, Jen and Sam. Hopefully those chronic injuries don't always pop up, because it's never fun. TJ, if you want to run with a friend in a later wave, can we wait and start with them? The key there is the later wave, TJ. The answer is yes. You can drop back with them, but they cannot jump forward to you. So all the runners out there, if you have a friend running either in a corral in the same wave, because the corrals are A to F for every wave. So let's say you're in corral B and your friend's in corral D, you can drop back to corral D. They cannot jump forward to corral B. If you're in wave 2, they're in wave 3, you can jump back into wave 3, spend more time in the start zone area. They cannot obviously jump forward to wave 2. A lot of people do that. Again, you've been training, you want to have a good time, run with your friends. So please all feel free to drop back and have a good time. Perfect. Now, any suggestions on what to wear depending on the weather? Depends on where you're coming from also. If you're coming from the south or Florida or areas where summer is in the southern hemisphere, we're not experiencing the colder weather we may be having here in the Northeast. Even the weather this weekend looks good for people who have been living through winter in the Northeast. It may not be the winter that you're used to. The key here is going to have layers. So what I would say, in the start line, have some clothes that you can toss away so to keep yourself warm when you start. And then maybe if you have an old race long sleeve shirt that you may need, or something that you may not want to carry, or tie around your waist. If you're in a jacket, you can tie it around your waist when you're going, because as you go through 13.1 miles, your body will naturally warm up. You're going to get warmer, you're going to get hotter. It will be overcast during the day. They are forecasting a west-northwest wind, which should keep things kind of cool. But again, if you're not used to the weather here, you're not acclimated to 50s here in the Northeast, it may be cold for you. But always plan for 10 degrees warmer, as you will be warming up during the race. But again, it's something you can maybe take off, tie around your waist if you don't want to toss it off to the side of the race course. Before the race, we talked about it. Have an old sweatshirt or old sweatpants that you can just donate to Goodwill. But then during the race, just anything that you can take off, tie around your waist, or if a loved one's going to be seeing you somewhere on course, maybe you can hand that off to you as well. But best of luck. Ooh, these are always a fun one. Elle, any recommendations for blistering on the ball of your foot? Alexis, what do you got?
So there are different types of orthotics specifically for what's called the metatarsal heads. They're called metatarsal pads. You can get them, online at probably a sporting goods store. Again, it might be tough to try something new at this point inside the shoe. I guess if you have a certain socks also have a little bit of extra cushion built in there to support the metatarsal heads, which is the ball of the foot. So you could try something like that. And I guess in the future, if you know that after a certain distance you start to get blisters, you could try the metatarsal orthotics, the metatarsal pads.
Yeah, not fun. Not a good place to get a blister. Blisters are bad all the way around. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah, not fun.
Couple questions left here before we wrap up. Elle's asking, how often should we hydrate with electrolytes, water, energy throughout the race? Well, probably during your training, you've done some of these tests to figure out where you want to drink, how often you want to drink, how much, when you want to take your gels, when you have the electrolytes, what you may be drinking. That's the key. That's what's going to work for you because that's what you've done during your training. On the course, we will have 7 water and Gatorade stations, and then at mile 6.4 to 6.7 as you come off the Manhattan Bridge, there will be an energy zone where we will have our gels from Science and Sport, our new gel sponsor. They will be on course there for you to grab some. In terms of what's going to work well for you, typically every 40 or 45 minutes, you want to be taking a gel as you want to keep your glycogen stores nice and high. Anything beyond that, as you approach that hour mark, that's about all our bodies can kind of store, maybe hour and 15 minutes before you kind of run out of that energy. So you want to make sure that you have some more food on board. So when you start the race, you want to have that glycogen topped off, have maybe a banana, a bagel with peanut butter, whatever your pre-race meal is going to be. And then as you go through the race, depending on what your pace is, around 40 minutes or so, maybe you're taking in your first gel, how much water you're going to be drinking. You probably tested that in your training. If you're going to be carrying your own hydration, that's great, because then you can drink on demand. If not, then the hydration stations along the course will pop up. The first one's around mile 2. There'll be another one around mile 4. Then mile 6, you'll see 1, 7. So they're kind of spaced out early on, more condensed at the end, where you're probably going to need an extra water or Gatorade towards the end. But again, if you're not sure what's going on, it shouldn't look that hot. The weather looks very good, very favorable. So hopefully it won't get scorched out there and it won't be so cold that things will freeze. But again, what you did in your training is what I would lean into, and just kind of look at the course map to figure out when you can grab water throughout the time there. But we'll have some aid stations out there for you, so best of luck. Man, okay, are you allowed to carry a small backpack? Not sure if you're here for the first part. Anything over the shoulder is not allowed, unfortunately. It's for safety reasons, so small backpacks will not be allowed. If you're able to check a bag, you'll be able to put that in your check bag and drop it off with our partners at UPS prior to coming through security, and then that small backpack will meet you at the finish line that you can take with you, but you will not be able to get a small backpack through security or carry that during the race. Jason, where should you wear bib if you're wearing or removing layers? That's a great question. Innermost layer, whether it be your singlet, your shirt, or on your shorts or leggings, whatever you choose to wear, it should be on something that you will not be discarding. Typically what I do is I have it on my innermost layer if I'm wearing a singlet or a shirt, and then anything else I have I put on top of that. Then when you come through security, they'll look for your bib. You'll simply just pick up your shirt, show them the bib so you know where it is. And then this way, as you're running, if you're discarding your layers, you don't inadvertently discard your bib, which then has your timing chip on it. So make sure that bib is against your innermost layer, against your skin. So we can see that because obviously as you come through, our partners at Marathon Photo will be out there taking pictures on course and in the finish line, and they use that bib to identify you so you can get those race pics afterward. And Bob, how can we find out which pacers will be in our corrals? Can we change corrals? AJ, if you have the pace corral, we'll pop this up here. Okay, runners, here we go. This is the NYRR pace team, best in the business that is out there. We'll leave this up here for a few seconds. Take a screenshot, grab your phone, take a picture. This information will also be at the experience back in the running lab. We have pacers from 120 to 3 hours, every wave, every corral. Wave 4 runners, don't worry, the 3-hour time. Stephanie and Jacqueline are in Corral E. Anthony is in F. He will be in Corral F. That was our typo. We apologize for that. But they'll all be there, so I'll leave this up for a second longer. But yeah, these are the best in the business. Every 5 minutes, 120 to 3 hours. At the running lab, we'll also have pace bands. So if you're running a 2-hour, it'll say 9:09 will be the average pace, and it'll tell you what your miles on one side and then kilometers on the other pace should be for that time. So you can grab those as well. The pacers will be there, so you can talk to the pacers at the running lab, ask any questions. Coaches will be there as well from New York Road Runners. They can give you some tips and tricks on race day advice as we're doing here. And I believe Bob had another part to his question, AJ, so we'll pull that back down. I think it was about wave or corrals. There was a second part to Bob's question. I think he was asking about moving between waves and corrals. Yeah, and so I think we asked it earlier, Bob. You're able to move back in waves and corrals. So let's say you're in wave 2, corral B, and you want to drop back because the pacer's in corral D, you can drop back. Or if you may be having train troubles or late to your wave and you're in wave 2, you're able to get into wave 3, no problem. I think this is our final question. This is our final question for the day, folks. Here we go. Traveling runner. Maybe they were listening earlier as well. Thank you so much for coming back. What are the signs that you beginning to redline and should dial it back a bit? Yeah, this is where you can do the talk test. You'll know. You'll feel yourself struggling because you've gone through everything. Your body is at a max line. You just can't go anymore. You will probably not be able to talk at all, or maybe a word or two, because you're just going so hard for so long that the body has no energy or is using all the energy to keep you going. You'll probably feel your pace drop off a little bit, or if you come off the FDR, which is around mile 7, 8, 9, when you make your way up 42nd Street towards Times Square and Pershing Square, you'll just feel the wheels may come off. You'll just feel tired. You may end up having to walk at some point because you just absolutely hit that anaerobic level where you just don't have anything left in the tank. If you get to that point, we talked about if you're injured, at this point maybe a run-walk regime may be helpful, but just dial it back. Early in the run, I always tell people to talk to themselves. You don't know how fast I'm going, how I'm feeling. See if you can have a conversation with yourself. It's a good way to gauge the effort regardless of what your GPS or Garmin device may say. But obviously towards the end of the run, you're going to be working hard. So if you're redlining towards like mile 12, that could be normal because you're working hard at the end, but you shouldn't be so gassed like you're doing a 100-meter sprint and it's all over. But best of luck out there. Alexis, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you said your day's almost wrapping up there at the office. So any good plans for this afternoon, or are you just going to go home and enjoy some warmth?
Yeah, I mean, well, I have lots of patient notes to do, but probably doing some relaxing as well. And then, if anyone who commented that they do have injuries or chronic injuries, HSS has multiple locations across the New York area. Feel free to come in and see us. Our PTs are amazing, and we can definitely help you out and make sure that we try to prevent some of those chronic issues from reoccurring when you do go for long runs in the future.
Love it. Thank you so much for joining today. It's been a pleasure. Lots of good information. Nick Offerman, the glutes don't lie. Find some yoga areas, some meditation. Runners, have a great time. If you're traveling in or you're local, look forward to seeing you at the experience. Make sure you download United Airlines NYC Half app, and we'll see you on race day.